So again, a bit more teaching on the fence line. Let's look at what we got here. What I'm wanting to illustrate is the side of the fence post, the side of the fence line upon which I've hung the wire. In this case, it's the north side. This fence line runs east and west. The reason I do that is that I prefer to have the wire on the windward side so that when the wind blows on it, it pushes against the post rather than pulling away from the post. That seems to ensure that the wire stays on the post better. Now, of course, this is a dynamic world we live in, and the wind is always pushing at these things. Our prevailing winds are out of the north, northwest, and west-northwest, so right across that arc. So most of the time this works good. Now we do get winds from all the way around the compass, so when they're out of the south they're blowing the other way, but mostly they don't. So I try to do it this way. It's not a law, it just makes sense and it seems to work better for me. This fence line that I'm working on right now, this was a fence line that was put in I believe in 1947, and at that time things were a lot different. Tools, techniques were a lot different, and then over the years since then, as it's fallen apart, it's been repaired, and sometimes the wire has been repaired on the north side of the post and sometimes on the south side. So as you can see here, this wire was hung up on the south side, and people, including myself, have come along and just dealt with it and hung some of it on the south and some of it on the north, depending on mostly what was easiest and most expedient. So now that I'm rebuilding this, I'm going to put everything on the north side. So a few more steps, but they're steps that if I do them right now will ultimately make it easier to hang and stretch the wire. So it's just what you do. So I just pulled this wire off of here, and now I lift it up and put it over the post. Now it's on the north side. I'm going to untangle these wires and lay them out in a way so that they're not tangled up together, and then I'll go along and I'll stretch and nail and clip them from bottom to top, and once I get this done, and that'll work pretty good. I guess the last thing I want to say right now is that some of my comments probably sound like I'm bitching about what my forebears did, and I'm not. I wasn't there, and many times when I was here, I did things out of expedience that I wouldn't do if I was rebuilding. So now I'm rebuilding. I'm going to do it right by my standards, which aren't necessarily the standards of my forebears or anyone else. It's just what works for me, and it's the way I like to do it, and so I'm going to do it that way. So yeah. The other thing about this is this sense of connectedness that I get. So this land has obviously been here for billions of years, long before lizard apes climbed out of the trees. So that's fine. The stuff that we've done here, these fences in particular, these fences were put in by my relatives, like my great-grandfather, a fellow that I never met. He died several years before I was born. But he was out here sweating his ass off, putting in this fence and doing his job day in and day out without any of the conveniences that I have. So, stronger, better man than I, and so that's cool. But when I walk these fence lines, and when I rebuild these fences and when I repair his work that's lasted for decades and decades and decades. I'm walking with him, and I'm walking with my grandfather, and I'm walking with my father. And I'm so, I hate to keep saying the same thing, but I'm so incredibly blessed to be able to do that. You know, those people who are gone, they enjoyed Daisy Fleabane. They enjoyed watching the grass turn green. They enjoyed raising cattle. They enjoyed being out here and doing real stuff in the real world, as do I. So yeah, blessed. Oh yes, so blessed.